Good morning and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Someone once said that complaining is like bad teeth. You notice it when someone else opens their mouth, but you don't notice it on yourself. There's a pastor from Kansas. His name is Will Boeing. And Will Bowling came up with an idea. One day on a Sunday, he gave a sermon about complaining, about being positive and not negative and seeing the good in every situation. And he presented a challenge to his congregation. He made wristbands with the word spirit on it, and he gave it out to his 250 congregants. And he said, I challenge you for the next 21 days, which is the time that it takes to break a bad habit or to form a good new habit. And he said, I want you to put it on your right hand. And whenever you're about to complain, just look at the wristband and try to be positive. And he said, every time you complain, move the wristband from one arm to the other. And he said, if you can go 21 days without complaining, I will give you a certificate of happiness. Well, this message caught on. It got written up in the local newspaper. One thing led to another. To date, since 2006, when he began this movement, he has sent out millions of wristbands to requests from 80 countries. He started an organization called A Complaint-Free World. This week's Torah portion, Moshe Rabbeinu addresses the Jewish people at the end of the 40 years of journeying in the desert. And he says to them, throughout the 40 years, you've constantly complained. You complained about the money, you complained about the water, you complained about going to the land of Israel. You were always focusing on the negative. And the message that Moshe is sharing with the Jewish people as they're about to arrive in the land of Israel is, all of this complaining not only didn't help you, but it made you miserable. And not only did it make you miserable because often you even complained about things that there was nothing to complain about, but it actually delayed your arrival in the land of Israel. We could have arrived here a lot earlier if not for all the complaining. Happier and earlier. You were delayed 40 years because of your complaints and not wanting to go to the land of Israel. And Tisha B'Av, which we will commemorate this year, the saddest day in the Jewish calendar, is the day that the spies came back with their negative complaints about the land of Israel. And Moses' final lesson before his death to all of us and all future generations is, focus on the positive, not on the negative. Because first of all, it'll make your life happier. Imagine a person flying on an airplane and their food doesn't come on time, or the food is, they don't have his meal, or he doesn't like the food on the plane. And he turns to his fellow and he says, you know, I remember the good old days when they served meals on the plane, or whatever the complaint may be. Here you're flying in a metal tube at an altitude of 20,000 feet in the air. Or allowing you to go from one country to the other in a matter of hours. A modern day miracle that no one could ever imagine. And instead of focusing with gratitude that you live in a day and age that you have this amazing technology, you're complaining about the food. That's often what happens, and that's what Moses says to the Jewish people. Instead of focusing on all the miracles in your life, the exodus from Egypt, the water from the rock, the manna from heaven, you're focusing on minutia and foolish complaints. And we often make that same mistake. I remember once there was a woman, she said, my husband always drops his socks on the floor. I'm always picking up his socks. I'm always telling him to put it in the hamper. He's never doing it. I'm always upset at him. One day I changed my attitude. I saw his socks laying on the floor. I looked down and I said, Almighty God, thank God I have a husband. And thank God my husband has legs that he needs socks. And thank God we could afford socks. And thank God we have a washer machine that could wash the dirty socks. And with a big smile, I picked up the socks, took it to the washer machine, and put it in the machine. That's looking at the positive, not at the negative. And that's Moses' final farewell message to the Jewish people. When we're negative, that's what we manifest in our lives. When we focus on negative, we bring out more negativity in our life. Our words and our mindset brings about that reality. But it's also a wasted opportunity, because instead of spending that energy on the negative, you could find something positive to be grateful for. There was a great tzaddik in the 1800s in Eastern Europe. His name was Rabbi Halberstam. And he was once a visitor in a certain town. And the wealthiest man in town invited him to be his guest for lunch, Shabbat lunch. And the custom amongst the Hasidim, he was a Hasidic Rebbe, was that when it came to the main dish, which was the cholent, they would serve the Rebbe the bowl. He would take a little bit in a bowl from the big pot, taste it, eat a little bit, and then he would serve all the guests, which was a big honor to get the Rebbe, the tzaddik's bowl of cholent. They served the Rebbe this big, they presented him with the big bowl of cholent. He took a little in a spoon in his plate, ate it, and then he took more in his plate, and more in his plate. And finally he took the spoon, put it in the big bowl, and just kept on eating. The Hasidim was shocked. The Rebbe was eating all the cholent. He wasn't sharing it. He wasn't giving it out. They started to wonder, what is the spiritual meaning? What did the Rebbe see in this bowl of cholent? What holiness is there? Sparks of holiness, maybe according to Kabbalah. The Rebbe finished the whole bowl, licked it clean. And then he asked if there's any more in the kitchen. And they said, yeah, there's a little left over. He said, please bring it. And he continued to eat until there was no cholent for anyone at the Shabbos table. No one understood. They were all mystified. One of the Hasidim had the courage to go over to the Rebbe later and said, Rebbe, this was very unusual. The Rebbe ate all the cholent by himself. What is the deeper meaning behind what you did? And the Rebbe said, I'll tell you. When I tasted the cholent, I realized that the cook made a mistake. Instead of using oil, she put some kerosene by mistake in the cholent. The taste was bitter and awful. And I said to myself, if everyone eats it, people will start complaining. The host will be embarrassed, and he'll fire the cook in the kitchen. I know who the cook is. She's a widow, a poor woman. She has children to feed. She would lose her job. And so therefore, I forced myself to eat every bit of cholent so no one else can taste it, so no one else will be able to complain about it. Complaints have real negative effects on other people's lives. It hurts them and insults them. Sometimes it can cost them their job or their career or their reputation. But most importantly, or equally important, is, like Moses says to the Jewish people, it harms you. It makes your life more miserable. It makes your journey more difficult, and it delays your arrival at your personal promised land. Shabbat Shalom.